Yeah, I'll stick it up here in a minute. Thank you. All right. So at this time, this will be the Zoning Board of Adjustments for the town of St. Paul.
We're going to record that. You're recording?
Yeah. For Monday, October 14th. We need a roll call at this time.
Mr. Trevino.
Here.
Mr. Graham.
Here.
Mr. Swanner.
Here.
Mr. Dryden.
Here.
Mr. Nell.
Here.
Mr. Simmons is absent.
That's correct. So we have a quorum. So at this time, we have the minutes, discussion, possible action regarding the minutes from September 16th meeting from that Board of Adjustments open hearing.
Make a motion to accept the zoning board of adjustments.
Second for motion.
16.
Okay, we have a motion to accept those meeting minutes from the 16th and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So we'll continue on with the regular agenda, which is that public hearing and consider the case number 090924-02, a variance request from Gustavo Martinez concerning Chapter 14 zoning ordinance, Article 16, the height and area expectations and modifications. So Section 6.2, the front yards of town codes, this section does not allow a fence, structure, planting higher than 3 1/2 feet or 42 inches above the established street grades. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow an additional 7 inches in height, permitting the construction of 2 driveway columns at 49 inches each instead of the maximum allowed height of 42 inches. So at this time, we can,
The hearing is still open.
we can have an open hearing, and the hearing's still open for you to speak, if you would like to address the board.
Do you want to have my neighbors, if you want to say anything before, or you can?
Hi, stand up.
Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Hi, my name is Bala, 2307 Silver Maple. I'm on the right side, on the left side of this house. I see 2 columns on the other side, and when we were speaking, he was telling me when he backs up, it kind of helps his vehicle not fall over, or kind of a barrier. I've been there about 8.5 years, 9 years. To me, it wasn't a big deal. Or me and my wife talked about it. I mean, as a normal, common person, as my neighbor, that's all I kind of wanted to give my point of view. It's like it didn't impact us, but that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Okay?
I have some letters from a neighbor across the street and some samples of things that far exceed the rule in the town of St. Paul. Do these get entered anywhere? Can I
Sure.
provide
Feel
a copy
free to.
to everybody?
Is there a, do you have enough copies for us?
For y'all to
Sure.
review here.
We can have enough.
Here is the letter.
Mr. Malott?
Thank you, sir. Do we know, who was the gentleman that spoke at the 16th meeting?
Brennan?
Lee Brennan?
Yes.
Okay.
Lee.
Okay. That's yours. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, I must apologize in advance for any irritation expressed in my voice. I am very aggravated by the situation, and I have sustained significant distress with this column and code matter. I moved to the town of St. Paul on October 31st, 2020, and since then, my direct neighbor, Mark Campbell, a former city council member, the previous administration, and the town employees have attempted to make my time here unpleasant. In my personal experience, I have never had as much difficulty getting projects or permits approved as I have had while living here in St. Paul. whether it be for myself or for my clients. With my 20-plus years of experience in construction, that should say something. I value my privacy and the privacy of others. I am not doing anything radical or out of the ordinary. I only want to improve my home. I believe there has been a great deal of racial prejudice from the previous administration that has led me to be here today. I stand before you because I have been stopped every step of the way trying to build anything at my house, most notably these brick columns at the end of my driveway that are present there like other homes in the town of St. Paul have in the driveway. There are several issues with the interpretation of the code ordinances and how it has been weaponized to stop me from improving my home. According to Ordinance 130D, Section 16-2, in any district, fence or structure, no planting higher than 3 1/2 feet above the established street grades. By this logic, mailboxes are not compliant with this code, yet they exist and are allowed. The columns I have constructed have the exact build type, material, and appearance of mailboxes in the neighborhood, especially my own mailbox. There are several builds, similar or larger, taller than mine, which were built after the code was enacted in 2014. Although no HOA exists in the Vista Oaks neighborhood, the town of St. Paul administration has been weaponizing the city code ordinances by interpreting in such way to allow them to exhibit HOA behavior. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, when did you start building the columns?
20. I don't remember exactly. It was in,
Is it in 23?
yeah. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it's been sitting there for a long time now.
Okay.
And Mr. Martinez, so did you start construction with a permit initially, or were you?
There is no permit required. So I did not have a permit.
Did the previous administration require you to acquire a permit?
No, Mark told the lady that worked here that I was doing something, so she just drove by and told me to stop, started yelling at me, well, at the guys that were doing my stuff. And I came home from working to see what was going on, and she just confirmed to me about it that I had to stop because we didn't have a permit, and I was like, oh, because we didn't have an electrical permit. There's no electrical anything in there. So.
There's no wiring, no
Then
nothing?
afterwards is when they started giving me every single reason or rule as to why I needed a permit. And then I think at some point after the election was when I finally was made aware of the possible ordinance of whatever's going on.
So, yeah, it doesn't require a permit. Mailboxes, from what I understand, we don't have a permit for mailboxes as well. If you pull up federal guidelines, the actual mailbox itself, the bottom of the mailbox needs to begin at 41 inches to 45 inches.
That's correct.
So even though our ordinance clearly says 42 inches, in order to meet federal guidelines, it's going to automatically be at the 48, 50 inch mark, just in order to meet the federal guidelines on those mailbox type structures. And so that's kind of where we're looking at on this. And again, that ordinance hasn't been changed on the 3.5 foot as yet. It says structures. The question in the defining part is, what is a structure? Is it 2 or more bricks that are combined together? Is it a wooden post with a mailbox on top? Is that considered a structure? Again, there's 1,000 different definitions for everything. So Gustavo reached out to me a long while back. I've helped him fill out the proper paperwork to bring before you guys. It's up to you guys what y'all want to do. But there's complications involved in whether Mr. Martinez gains a variance or not. It's one of those, this is an issue on the 42 inch that we're going to have to, I think, look at and resolve for the future. As long as visibility standards, he's not doing a fence, but we want to make sure the visibility stays for our code enforcement, but at the same time, we have to kind of make sense of all of it.
So, is the only application that the town has ever received from Mr. Gustavo Martinez, is it only the variance?
That I'm aware of, yes.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, were you ever advised that you had to complete an application for a variance or anything once construction was halted?
Only from Kent.
That's what he said. He said,
I'm only asking because you and I were previous administration, and I just want to let it be known as that, I would never have stopped construction based off of any racial discrimination or
Right.
anything there in the like. So, but,
this is the first I've heard of this, so.
right, so when I asked, when construction was halted, I asked, and I was just looking for clarification on paper, because I was advised that there was, a paper trail had started, or that the construction was halted because there was not a permit for construction. So, I'm just putting puzzle pieces together, so.
I didn't realize, I haven't been involved in government, I haven't felt the need to, right?
Right.
So I don't mean to call anybody out here specifically. The only persons that I have ever dealt with was Mark and the lady that used to work here.
And he's directly your neighbor,
Right,
correct?
yes. And I mean, beyond that, everything he ever told me was that the other council members have approached him to talk to me. He never named anybody specifically, but again, it's just a lot of issues like that.
Understood.
I think at the end of the day, it's really just a vendetta on his behalf and using his position to do different things, like my fence permit that was rescinded after I asked him for permission to gain access to his property and build a fence between us.
So the rest of the council, so myself and the rest of the council are aware, so in these photos, I believe it is page 10. Page 10 is the actual, is 2309 is your residence, showing the incomplete column?
That is correct.
Okay.
You can see one that's finished and the other one that's halfway finished.
Okay.
And I believe I got a photo of my mailbox, so you can see the similarities.
Right.
It's the exact same thing, except it's missing a box for the mail.
Okay. So, and we're asking for a 7-inch variance, is that correct? An
Basically,
additional
it's about
7
7 inches.
Right.
Okay. So in those additional 7 inches, approximately how many extra bricks is that? If
two
you were to
rows.
stack them?
Two
rows?
Two rows plus the cap, right?
I think the cap was included in those.
Was it?
In those 7 inches?
And there's no light on top of it or anything like that?
There's no light on top of it. In the future.
You did wire that for 12 volt in the future, correct?
Yeah,
For landscape
shining
lighting.
down
No, it's fine.
to the driveway. And again, it's low voltage lighting. You can put the cable on your tongue and nothing happens.
Who's Camille Hampton's guy?
That's my neighbor, so it's somewhere between Mark and me. So Camille's,
Letter should have been in the back of the packet.
There's no address on it.
she's right.
Oh, there it is, I'm sorry.
Just right there.
It's not blocking line of sight,
So it's like-
it's higher so UPS doesn't run into your mailbox when they're backing up, is that kind of one of the reasons why it was higher?
Higher so that, so I could see it. And I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it just felt like the right height. I didn't have a specific thing, the only other than clearing, seeing it from the trucks.
Yeah.
From my pickup truck, I've seen some big pickup trucks here, they're pretty tall, like you
Yeah.
can't, they need to be high so you can see them. That's really the only reason. And
So the drop off of those are at, that's about 8 inches without your stepped up brick, right?
the drop off to where?
The drop off where you have it now?
I'm not sure I understand.
Did you build up that, yeah.
The ground around it?
Yeah,
I built it up because there's a lot of erosion in the front
Yeah.
yard in general.
yeah, I'm saying, so you had to build that up as well. So there was a pretty decent drop off there before you built it up, right?
And it was gradual.
Scott,
There's still a lot of erosion happening
Does this
there.
propose any kind of safety concerns to you?
Not any safety concerns.
No, just the only concern that we had is that it doesn't pose a hardship officially, correct?
Correct. Without getting into all that, I mean,
Right.
there's very specific guidelines as far as identifying what a hardship is.
Right
And
now-
you all need to make that decision.
Right, now on a Board of Adjustment, the Board of Adjustments doesn't set a precedence for for any other cases, correct? These are just single-use cases, case by case, or does the Board of Adjustment set a precedent?
You could be setting precedent.
We were advised by previous counsel, by Mr. Hiller, that it does not.
I believe you're correct on that one.
Well,
According to Mr. Hiller, it does not set a precedent. It could set,
It's just people
certainly
coming for us.
an expectation, but it is not a precedent.
But we're talking about raising the height anyway in an ordinance, right?
Well, again, Matt, I'm not telling you guys yea or nay. If it were me, whether Mr. Gustavo gets a variance on these particular 2 columns or not, I think we need to expeditiously take a look at you can't go to Home Depot buying a 3.5-foot fence. So because of that, we need to at least go to 48s to meet federal guidelines on mailboxes and store-bought products.
Well, and then we have all these that are.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this.
Okay.
So, unless anybody needs to discuss it, I don't.
no, can we go ahead and make a vote on it?
I will make a motion that we allow him his variance.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Sorry for your trouble.
We'll adjourn at this time from the Board of Adjustments. Do a motion for that?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
So, P&D pick up action to evaluate that?
I'm sorry?
The P&D gonna pick up an action to evaluate that ordinance or what?
We can task them for it.
They basically voted to recommend on the development plat.